In the upcoming video, I will show you guys an eco-friendly house heater. If you watch the video, you will be able to heat up your house literally for free, or at least that's the main idea. Divide the video in two pieces. Basically, the first part will be the math, the chemistry, how it works in theory, and the second part will be in the practice, like what I managed to do so far. So it's not a finished product, like the engineering part is not ready, it has to be improved, but it's a start. I'm not a chemist, I have no idea what I'm talking about, so please don't be harsh with the comments. If you're a chemist, just take the good parts and eventually comment what you like, what you don't like, what we should improve. But I finished architecture, I have a diploma in that, and I will try to share you my best ideas so far, how to make it, how to build a sustainable machine that literally will heat up your house for free. Till now, the main popular ideas to get heat, to heat up the house, was the following, burning wood, obviously, and the second one, it was fossil fuels. And the third one, lately, a lot of people try composting. And I think there's a way better, it's in the composting family, it's the closest to composting, but it's not. We use a different method with bacteria, but it's maybe 20, 30, or even 40, if not hundreds of times more efficient than composting. And here I don't want to lie, and I don't want to throw out words for that clickbait, but I think after my calculations, it seems it's more efficient than fire. Our main idea in the video, not in the video, but related to the project, is we have to backwards engineer photosynthesis. So we have to make a workflow, or a biological flow in our case, or a chemical biological flow, that the organic matter is reversed to two things. One, heat, and the second, CO2. That's it. If we have the third thing, then we are making a mistake. And that's the problem where everybody's making a mistake related to composting, because composting makes heat and makes CO2, but it makes in a really inefficient way related to energy. And that method will be 10, 20, 100, maybe 100 times better. First, I want to show you the numbers. So let's say here, at the left part, we have the organic matter. It can be leaves, it can be grass, it can be basically everything, sawdust, wood chips, and every pound of it, sure there are differences, but the differences are really small. So that many organic matter, let's say 10 pounds, 4.5 kilogram, it has 90,000 BTU, 26,000 watts in it, 26.4 kilowatts. And our task here is to backward engineer the thing, how to transform it back in nothing, absolutely nothing else, just energy and CO2. That's the thing we want. And I want to, before we continue, I want to tell you, the video will be two parts. In that part, we'll talk about the heat like nothing else, and in the other part, I will make an episode just about the greenhouses and the CO2 in the greenhouses, because I'm not sure if you're in the topic or not, and if you put CO2 in the greenhouses, they will start to grow like crazy. Not all of the plants, but most of the plants. So if you're interested in that, you'll be able to gain literally limitless CO2 to your greenhouse, so you will be able to seal the greenhouse, keep all of the heat and all of the moisture in the inside in a good way, and therefore you will be able to produce plants maybe a month or 2 months earlier than everybody else. Every year you will be able to do that with that machine. But now within this video we'll talk about just heating, heating up a house, nothing else. So the numbers are insane. So if we are talking about 20 kilogram hay bale, for example, we'll gain 118,000 watts, 180 kilowatt of heat. That's amazing. And before we continue, wait a bit, I want to show you. I will get into that, I will explain how it actually works, but I want to show you some numbers. So let's say we have 5 pound organic matter, that's 2.5 kilogram, and we consume that hourly. Let's say we build a machine that we want to consume that amount of materials, and we want to consume that amount of heat hourly. But we'll be able to double it, triple it. We're talking about the ratios here. We'll need 10 square cubes of air every hour, and we'll have to eliminate 20 square cubes of air because of the CO2. And we need 33 CFM, cubic feet per minute of air. Basically the ventilation will be that. And we'll need 1.4 liters of water every hour. And we'll have 13.2 kilowatts of energy every hour, and we'll get 3.3 kilograms of pure CO2. And we'll produce 1.4 liters of water. So basically that will like equalize each other, like the consumed and the produced with the water, but it's like a lot. So now I'm telling you again, in this video I'm not talking about the CO2 and in the benefits of greenhouses, but if you have to buy CO2 for a greenhouse, that costs a fortune. So we'll manage that as well. And the heat will get in two types. One, it will be in the air, like we'll heat up the air, and the second one, we'll run pipes in the machine. But again, we are not composting here, and literally we won't have compost in the remaining. So all of it, like not all of it, but most of it will be transformed back to CO2 and energy. I consume 54 kilograms, like 120 pounds of organic matter, like rotting sawdust, wood chips, like hay, straw bale, basically everything that you want to throw away, like fruits that are starting to rot, and like it doesn't matter, it has to be organic matter, like that's the main idea. But for that to work in our case, like that's the fun part, you have to literally like bring in, like give the machine 237 square cubes of oxygen to feed the bacteria that we have in. Like imagine 237 square cubes of oxygen every day, and you have to eliminate almost 500 cubic meters of CO2. That's insane. I will explain the logic in a moment, but I just wanted to say like how different is that to normal composting that everybody knows, and why that it's like maybe hundreds of times more efficient, and it's like a pure burn. Basically it's like burning wood in pure oxygen. It's something like that, when nothing remains, like when you don't have the ash, like when nothing remains in the end. Sure, our job it will be made by bacteria here, but the bacteria will need the oxygen and will need the elimination of the CO2, and I will explain it in a moment. Let's see what happens in a week. Sure, so in a week the same machine will consume 381 kilograms of organic matter. It will need 1600 something square cubes of air to the oxygen, and you will have to eliminate 3263 square cubes of air to eliminate the CO2, and it will produce, wait a bit, yeah, 2215 kilowatts, not watts but kilowatts, and that will produce every week 560 kilograms of CO2. And if I don't know what's the price for the CO2 in the country you live in, but here it's like maybe $1-2 a kilogram for that. If you're living in if you want to have a greenhouse, like every week that machine will make you like $500 easily. And I'm not even talking about the equipment here. The equipment, the whole thing I built, it was like maybe under $500. I will show you in a moment. Okay, let's say in a month. In a month you need like 1.5 ton of organic matter. It will eliminate like almost 7,000 square cubes of oxygen. I know it's like insane. I just want to show you how insane the numbers are, because nobody will say how can we need that much like air for, because most of the persons have a composting bin and they say, oh yeah, I go there, I shovel it, and we do like the hot composting thing. Sure, but it not works. You need that amount, like that crazy amount of shoveling, to give oxygen and to eliminate CO2 for the bacteria. See? So it's like a total new level of thinking. I'm not even telling you like 91,000, like wait a bit, no, sorry, 9,179 kilowatts and like 2.5 tons of CO2 produced every month. So we have three types of bacteria. So those are the cold-loving bacteria. They live in cold. They are not harmful to humans. They are not heating up anything, and they are not decomposing literally anything. That's why in the cold winter nothing is decomposing, because it's like really hard to get the composing started. The second version, like the second, it starts from 90 Fahrenheit, like 32 degrees Celsius. Then the mesophile bacteria starts to work. So basically they are like the bacteria that actually can produce heat, and they produce it, and they produce quite a lot. And most of the composting that we have, maybe 99.999%, it works in that stage. That's like the cold composting, and it leads to the hot composting. After a while the hot composting will die, and it will go back to the mesophile bacteria, and the thermophile bacteria will die. And the biggest problem is when the composting starts to heat up, it gets to 46 degrees, all of the mesophile bacteria dies, because that bacteria can't live in that heat. The thermophile bacteria takes over, and the thermophile bacteria that we need here, like to get like the cleanest, like the pure backward photosynthesis, we need two things, like three basically, four. So we need more. So we need oxygen, because those kind of bacteria are like aerobe bacteria, like us. They need oxygen, and if we don't provide them the oxygen, they will die. The second, if they get too much CO2, they will die. They are like us. So the biggest problem here, like that's the biggest problem here, everybody makes a huge mistake. When thermophile bacteria gets under 51 degrees Celsius, like 125 Fahrenheit, they will die on the spot. So the second they get the cold air, they die. It's not like, oh, you kind of start to shower the pile and they will survive. No, the second will die. So that's why when persons do the hot composting thing, the compost starts to warm up 30 degrees, 40 degrees Celsius, 46, and after a while the thermophile bacteria takes over, and it works extraordinarily well for like 2 days. But afterwards they run off of water, they are suffocated by CO2, and they don't get the oxygen, so they die. And not that the thermobacteria died, the mesophile bacteria died already, because the mesophile bacteria was killed by the heat. So you go back almost to the cold-loving bacteria, and you start over. So you have to wait a few days when the mesophile bacteria starts again, it heats it up, and then you get the thermophile bacteria. So our machine has to do the following: keep the thermophile bacteria working 24/7 for weeks, for months, like not stopping. So once the machine started, you have the clean burn, and you go with it. It's like a train. You start it once and you keep it there. And sure, if you go even further with the temperatures, we can see that. But wait a bit, I will try to. Yeah. So the thermophile bacteria will start to die at 71 Celsius or 160 Fahrenheit. Probably that's not our biggest problem. So startup and functioning stages. Let's say it's winter, it's really cold outside, and our pile, it's in the classical composting, nothing will happen, because it will make days and days and days till the whole warm-up will start to occur. So in our version, we insulate it, because if it's insulated, we can get to from the start of phages to the thermobacteria stages within 2 days maybe. We don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks. We'll get on the instant. And if we start to heat up from the inside, even if we put ice inside and we start to heat up with a heat gun, Like not every time, like just say like for a day, and we have like the worst coldest climate, let's say. But if we have like a thick insulation, we'll start the whole thing rolling. Probably with the first like 2, 3, 4, 5 tryouts, we'll kill the bacteria, because the 99% of the cases, because we are like new, we want to see, oh, what happens in the inside, and we open the door, poof, the second they died. So we should not open the door. How they say it, like if you're cooking, if you're looking, you're not cooking. So it's the same. You can't even imagine how these little tiny bacteria are sensitive to cold. The second you open the door, poof, they die. Sure, I'm exaggerated here, but that's the main idea. So when you start to do that, for first, I will highly recommend you that you put a like thermostat in the inside, and when the temperature goes below a scale, you will let the thermos like go up, because it's not that you need it, and it's not like about energy efficiency and you say, yeah, you basically have to heat up the whole thing and it consumes. No, we don't have. It's just like the first 2, 3, 4 tryouts there, you figured out how it works, and afterwards you won't need it. And even now you don't need it, but I just telling you it will help tremendously. And about the insulation, I'm not sure about your climate, but if you're cold, like I assume we are in a cold climate, and we are not talking about a greenhouse, and we are not talking just about the CO2 part, it will be great if you insulate the whole thing with like 6-8 inch of insulation. So now we're talking about the hot water as bonus. So in the cold stages, you're not having hot water, you try to preserve heat as much as you can. So in the hot stage, like in the cold stages, you do nothing. Yes, you seal everything, you don't give the bacteria like oxygen. They don't need oxygen, they don't need CO2 elimination, they just need the heat preserved. You do nothing else. And you basically, you have to rotate them slowly, because like imagine a drum or like a hamster wheel, or like the version that I did, that I have like a static machine and I have a rotating thing in it. I made mistakes here and I will show you what was my mistake. But the main idea is, in the blue section, you do absolutely nothing, you seal it, like no air in, no, like nothing in, nothing out, and you try to preserve the heat. In the second stage, with the mesophile bacteria, on that stage you will be able to extract like extremely massive, like huge quantities of water. Like if you put polypipes in the whole thing and you run water in the polypipes, you will have like hundreds and hundreds of liters of hot water every hour, for sure. And the other one, you will have like hot air eliminated. And the huge difference that I forget to mention before, that the air that it eliminates from the machine, it won't contain rotting things. So everything that's eliminated, I don't want to like convince you, and I'm not like a doctor, I'm not like a chemist, but after my research, I understood that nothing, like in theory, nothing harmful should leave the machine, because everything, like sure it's harmful, like the CO2 is harmful, but you won't have laughter gas, because if you keep the composting in the yellow stage, like the mesophile bacteria starts, and you don't make the composting aerobic, and it's an anaerobic composting, that means like harmful gases like laughter gas will produce. So in blue stage we have almost no heat produced, so it's like really important to have like a 20-25 centimeter of insulation, like a 10-inch insulation, especially if you live in the cold climate, and especially if the machine is not inside your house. The second stage, like the mesobacteria, from 32 degrees Celsius, like 90 Fahrenheit, we start to get heat. If we want to produce maybe hot water, but like a 40 degrees Celsius or like a 46 degrees will be enough for us, then we can work with the mesobacteria. But one is for sure, we have to keep it aerobic, so we have to provide them oxygen and we need to eliminate the CO2. So back to the stages again. In the blue stage, almost no heat is produced, and it's extraordinarily important to insulate the machine, because if you don't insulate it at first, the whole composting won't even start, especially in cold climates. It won't happen, and you have to seal it. so no air in, no air out, no fans are running. Then slowly but surely you start to provide oxygen, and you slowly start to emit the CO2 from the machine. Have a stage when you don't need air, the another stage when you need like a little tiny ventilator. Like imagine a ventilator like this big, like a coin, like that one, like 1 inch diameter, something like that, and you run it like for half a day and a day, and afterwards when the whole thing starts to go like a 40 degrees Celsius, then you start to put like a computer fan, and you go up and up and up, and here at the thermophile bacteria, if you can get to like the 70 degrees Celsius, we will have to have like a leaf blower, something like that, like a huge one. So it's not that simple, you have to have like 3 or 4 stages with the ventilation, but we are not getting into that for now. And the biggest problem here is cold air kills thermobacteria. So the second the temperature gets down, the thermobacteria dies. And again, when you open the door because you're curious, how they say it, like if you're looking you're not cooking, it's something like that. So when you open the door because you're so curious and you want to see, especially in the first 2, 3, 4 trials, so you want to see and you want to show the neighbor, the dad, the dog, the cat, like everybody, like all of the neighborhood, how it works, and in every 5 minutes you have to open the door, you will cool it down. So it won't work. Like close the door, leave it there, and if you want to open the door like 10 times something, then put like a heater in the inside. So put like a electric or like a oil heater, because when you close the door it will start to pump up the temperatures again, so you won't kill the thermobacteria. And what happens with the pathogens? So in the cold stage, yeah, sure, pathogens, but I don't say they are not harmful to us, but they are like pathogens like everywhere. Let's say you go to the forest and you touch something, probably they are like viruses, probably are the microbes in it, but it's not like the most harmful. It's not like a big problem. The big problem is like at the yellow stage here, like the mesophile bacteria starts. And you know why? Because it's the same temperature that our body. So all of the diseases, all of the bad things, all of the rottening, it happens there, and we don't want that. I would try to avoid that state. The pathogens will survive and they love it, and nothing will kill them. They will thrive in the inside. And here at 51 degrees Celsius, like 125 Celsius, pathogens will start to die. Sure, they won't die like as fast in fire, but let's say if the pathogen is there for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, everything will die. So they basically, the heat will decompose the viruses on a DNA level, so it will decompose them and the bacteria dies. And the thermobacteria will even eat up the remains of the other bacteria, so they will eat them, like literally. So it will be like, one, they don't survive the heat at the DNA level, and the second one, like the thermobacteria like literally eats them. When you reach 43 Celsius, like 110 degrees Fahrenheit, then you start the small air vent, like the small one. It's like that small. Okay, it depends about the situation, how big is your machine. Like with my machine it was something like that. And afterwards you will need like a bigger fan, like a computer fan, but you have to calculate it, and probably I will make another video. If that video will be successful and you guys will request it, then I will make like another video how I calculated the fans. Again, if you're like curious, if you want to know the actual numbers or like the algorithm, how to calculate it, I have it. I made it in Excel, and if you guys want, I can make a video about that as well. In the thermobacteria stage, if we have like the best materials in the inside and we have like the best conditions in the inside and the temperature will go like really up, then we'll need maybe a leaf blower to get the energy out, like to get the heat out. And there's like an interesting thing, the surface area. Let's talk about chicken. Let's say you have like 1,000 chicken, and if you go to feed the chicken and you have like 1 bucket of like corn and you put it down, all of the chicken will try to feed once. So how many chicken can, probably they will just beat each other and nobody will eat. Maybe like 10-20 will eat properly, like at first, and afterwards like everybody will be like waiting in line. And that's with the surface area. So if we have like wood chips, it has the same amount of chemical energy like straw or field grass or like thin pieces or tree bark or like everything. It's mostly, it has the same chemical energy, like mostly, but because of the surface area it's way smaller. You can't have like, let's say, 1 trillion billion bacteria on it. You will have like 3 or 4, so you will have heat. No. So that's why tree bark and like small branches won't compose that fast. It's not because of the material itself, it's just the surface area. So on the, if you want to go with the really hot composting and you want like the 70 degrees Celsius water and you want like the best of the best, then you can work with like loam grass, leaves, hay, and sawdust. Like that's the 4. And if you want like the mesobacterial temperatures, like here, like if you're happy with the 32 degrees Celsius water or like a 46 Celsius water and you have like the materials, you have that materials for free and you can use them. So basically you use wood chips, straw, field grass, and thin pieces of something and it will work amazingly. And there's another thing that we have to be aware about, that the materials, like every material, has like a carbon-nitrogen ratio. I'm not getting into it, but we need to keep the carbon-nitrogen ratio to 1 to 32. To every 1 carbon, you need 32 nitrogen. If you stick to the 1 to 32 ratio, it's really good. And it's not like that complicated, because you know what's your primer materials that you have, and you can go to the internet and you say, oh, I have 10 kilograms of like wood chips and I have 10 kilograms of like coffee grains, and what should be the ratio to get the 1 to 32. And it's like easy to calculate it. It's not like we have to be scared about that. The biggest problem, so again, the biggest problem is like the cold air. You have to have hot air in the inside. And how can you achieve it? So probably you know in your kitchen you have these pipes for the ventilation, like the aluminum. It looks like aluminum, like the shiny pipes that you can stretch. So when you get the air from the outside and you push the air in the inside, you don't push it directly. So you will have like 2, 3, even 4 meters of that tape in the inside, like the pipes, like the really thin pipes. And when it goes into the machinery, it will be already preheated, so the thermal bacteria won't die. And the troubleshooting is like really easy. If it smells bad, then you don't have like a aerobe decomposing, then you have like a anaerobe decomposing, so you didn't eliminate the CO2 and you have like you don't have enough oxygen. If it starts to not heat up, then probably you don't have the carbon or nitrogen ratio right, or you don't have enough water in it, because the water levels should be something like, when you put your hands on the materials, your hands should be wet, but it shouldn't. So let's say you grab the materials in the inside, you do like that, like stretch it, and if water starts to come out of it, you have like too much water. But if it's dry, then it's not good. So basically it will be something that you grab the material in the inside and you push it together, and if it stays like that, then it's good. You have to feel like it's moist, but if it's too moist, it's not good. See? And you can control the composing with the ventilation, with the water levels, because maybe you're lazy and you said, oh yeah, I want to decompose them, but I don't want it that fast. So you don't put that much water in it. The whole thing should move in the inside, be it like a hamster wheel or be it like the design I choose here, but you have to make it in a way that the CO2 can leave the machinery. And it's like really strange, the oxygen levels needed, like the oxygen, it's not that much. Our biggest concern here is like the CO2, so we have to eliminate the CO2. And if you guys like the video and you will like I have here like 100 or 200 comments. I will give you like the calculations. So with that calculations, you will be able to calculate like how much heat you need every hour, and I will give it to you, and it will be easy to calculate the fans, how big of the fans you want, how many CFMs you have to use. That was just more of an orientation. I will speak about real estate and like how to build the houses and like such things, and I didn't want it to go that much inside of the chemistry part or like the engineering of the heating. But if you guys like the video and you want more, and I get my 10,000 views because I'm greedy, let's say for start, then I will make it. Just comment below the video and we shall see like if it's interest for that, because it's like really easy. It's like an Excel sheet and you'll be able to understand how it works, and you just download it and you'll be able to say, oh, I want that many watts per hour, that means I need that kind of fan in the inside, I need to buy that fan with. So it's like really easy. Like I made it for you, it's ready, and if you want I will make it. Just like an interesting fact, because here in this video I discuss more about the heating part, not about the CO2 production with for the greenhouses, but just bear with me for a second. It's like so interesting and it fascinates me. Let's say you want to have like 1 kilogram of CO2, like 100 kilograms of CO2, and from 100 kilograms you will have 27.29 kilogram of carbon and 72.71 kilogram of oxygen. So when you will build as a machine and you need the materials that you get for free, because nobody wants the grass, nobody wants the leaves, nobody wants those, so you will get it for free. And even so the materials required will be free. It will be just 27.29% of the whole thing that you need, because 70% it's in the air. You just have to push it in the inside. So it's like imagine like, let's say you buy gas from the government and you need like 100 liters of gas, and you have to buy just like 27 liters, and 72 you will get it from there. It's like insane. So that's it. And what I like here the best, not about the greenhouses but about the whole chemistry or like the whole biology here, that the little bacteria are like extremely efficient. Because if you burn wood, let's say if you burn wood, like you can't dry the wood like perfectly, and you won't burn the wood in like oxygen, like pure oxygen, so it won't be that efficient. But here the bacteria works with an extraordinary efficiency, and most of the organic matter will be converted back, especially if we are talking about thermocomposting. It will be reverted back in just heat and CO2, and that's it, and literally nothing will remain. So the whole machine, it will be something that you start it once and you start to put things in it, you put things in it, you put things in it, and it will be never like full, and you will have to clean it maybe once in a year or something. Sure, I'm exaggerating here, but it's not like, oh, you put things in it and you have to clean it every week or every 2 weeks. No, you just put things in it, you will just put things in it, and it will be like it will remain there maybe for a season, because all of it, like in theory, if you're doing it in like a really good way, it will revert back again to energy and to CO2. So that was today's video, and if you like what you heard here, subscribe. Follow me in the other videos. I will talk about things that I actually know what I'm talking here, like sustainable houses, sustainable real estate, energy efficient homes, like premium houses that can be built under $5,000 per room, and it can be built like any type, shape and form. It doesn't matter the style of it, it's mostly about another way of constructing things, and I put it all available for free on my website, because on the YouTube videos I'm like all over the place, and I really want to make sure that you understand it. So it has an order. I start with A, B, C, D, E, and if you start to read it, it's on a website. I don't want your email, I don't have a shopping cart there. You just go there and read it, and you will be able to build it. Please go to the website maverickmansions.com. I put the links. and check it out how to build it, and I'm curious about your opinions. And if you're interested about such things, please subscribe to my channel. That was today's video. Hopefully see you in the next video. Bye bye.